The Kraken banner shredded Seagard's gates. Balon Greyjoy knelt, bloodied before Robert's iron crown, and the Iron Islands bowed once more beneath the king's steel. But what if the Ironborn had won the rebellion? Under a pitch-black sky, 30 black-sailed longships, Black Kraken blazing the way, slid through storm-tossed waters toward Seagard's wooden palisade. Balon Greyjoy stood at the prow, rain plastering his hair to his skull, his voice a low thunder. Tonight, the Isles rise. Ironborn archers loosed a hail of flaming bolts. The palisade erupted in a roaring inferno as arrows carved lines of fire into timber. Frey sentries caught mid-horn call were cleaved by axes before they could sound the alarm. Balin's sappers detonated a hidden petard beneath Seagard's gate. Timber, stone, and defenders exploded in a thunderclap. Ironborn warriors surged through the breach in a tidal wave of mail and steel. Shields splintered, helmets cracked, and men fell in seconds. Blood spattered across black cobbles, mingling with ash and rain. Amid smoke and flames, Balon drove a whalebone spear into the shattered courtyard floor. He bellowed, "The Isles are ours!" The answer came in savage war horns, Ironborn bodies swarming over broken defenses until every Frey lay dead or drowning in the...
Seagard's defenses collapsed in under 30 minutes. Balon Greyjoy's calculated ferocity transformed a single strike into total domination. Seagard's fall sent shockwaves through the fingers, leaving the western coast trembling under the Kraken banner.
At dawn's first light, word of Seagard's ruin spread like wildfire. Ironborn war horns echoed through coastal passes as Balon's fleet turned back toward Pike. In Great Wick's basalt hall, Jon Harlaw and his retainers knelt before Balon. Torches flickered on wet stone as Harlaw pounded his gauntlet on the dais, declaring, "House Harlaw stands under the Kraken." Ironborn axes and oars thudded in salute, binding Harlaw's houses to Balon's cause. Simultaneously, Sir Robert Botley's battered galley slipped into Pike's harbor. Botley knelt, offering Lannisport gold and barrels of salted fish. "Take these gifts, High King. Use my ships or feed them to the sea." Balon accepted with a cold nod. "Serve under the Kraken or sink below." Across the fingers, strongholds fell one by one. Piper's View lowered its standards before ironbound axes reached its gate. Pound Net's fishing fleets burned as Ironborn torchbearers drizzled oil-soaked burlap across nets and masts. Lonely Light's lone guard surrendered to the roaring tide, its towers reduced to smoldering ash. In mere hours, every castle and fishing village from Seagard to Lonely Light bent the knee. Torches blazed atop Pike's jagged cliffs as Ironborn captains placed a whalebone circlet on Balon's head. The Black Kraken's horn howled across storm-whipped spires. Balon raised his sword to the roaring sky. "I am High King of the Iron Isles, let Westeros tremble!"
Seagard's fall triggered a domino effect. Within hours, every hold in the fingers knelt to Balon Greyjoy. Harlaw and Botley's sworn fealty cemented his claim, while Pike's coronation solidified the Iron Isles under a single, unbreakable Kraken banner. Stannis Baratheon's battered fleet, cogs and galleys patched with stolen canvas and leaking hulls, pounded across the narrow sea at first light. Their goal, break Balon's blockade at Blackwater Rush and relieve King's Landing. Ironborn war drums sounded from 30 longships arrayed in a crescent formation. Balon, standing on Black Kraken's deck, issued orders. "Ram their bows, sink their cogs." Longships surged forward, ramming their Blackheart oak prows into the slender crown cogs. Planking splintered like brittle driftwood. Sailors screamed as decks cracked beneath the onslaught. Ironborn ballista crews then launched chain harpoons tipped with burning pitch. One missile struck a Crown Galley's magazine, igniting it in a fiery explosion that sent sailors plunging into thrashing waves. Flames licked masts, turning vessels into floating pyres. Grappling hooks snatched railings. Ironborn warriors spilled aboard, axes howling. Crown men fought with desperation. Swords clanged against axes, shields buckled, and bodies tumbled into the sea. Waves carried away the dying as ship after ship went down in a blaze of flame. By midday, the sea was littered with wreckage, burning cogs, drifting corpses, and mangled longships heeling under smashed oars.
Ironborn survivors clung to half-broken planks. Balon surveyed the carnage from Black Kraken. His fleet had triumphed, but at great cost. Dozens of longships crippled, hundreds of warriors lost to fire and waves.
At Blackwater Rush, Balon's Ironborn fleet secured naval supremacy. Ramming attacks and flaming chain harpoons devastated Stannis' fleet. Both sides paid a terrible price, but the Crown's ability to contest the narrow sea was destroyed, leaving King's Landing isolated.
With Stannis' remnants skulking back to Storm's End, Balon saw an opportunity to strike at the heart of the Crown. In the dark of night, Balon dispatched a squadron of swift longships, 20 vessels manned by his deadliest raiders, eastward along the Blackwater. They slipped through the fog and reached King's Landing's outer shoals before dawn. Under heavy mist, Ironborn longboats ran ashore near the Dragon Gate. Raiders slipped through narrow alleys, cloaked in black hide and carrying bundles of burning pitch. Patrols were cut down before they could sound alarms. Within moments, the raiders ignited granaries and warehouses in Flea Bottom. Flames leapt into the sky, black smoke blotting out the sun. Citizens fled in terror as Ironborn axes splintered gates and swords reaped down guards. The pillory square fell under a hail of arrows. Sheep and cattle ran wild through cobblestone streets. Lannister banners above the Red Keep trembled as the raid raged for nearly an hour before the raiders retreated under Balon's waiting longships. Word of the raid reached King Robert's chambers, just as he had prepared to reinforce Ironborn besieged Pike. In shock, he bellowed, "Our city is aflame! Call my guard!" Tywin Lannister and Ser Jaime were dispatched to restore order, while half the Crown forces were recalled from the Iron Isles to defend the capital.
Balon's audacious strike on King's Landing sowed panic and forced Robert to withdraw his armies from the Iron Isles. The Crown's focus shifted from conquest to defense. The stage was set for a final, decisive encounter on the streets of the capital.
As King's Landing smoldered, both sides scrambled to gather the last of their forces. Thousands of weary soldiers, Ironborn and Crown, assembled before the shattered gates. Mud and ash coated the plaza, where the Ironbound and Lionhearted prepared for one final reckoning. From the ruined battlements, Robert Baratheon strode forward, bearing a warhammer stained with grime and blood. He raised his gauntlet and roared, "Enough blood! We decide our fate by trial of champions. Who will stand for my crown?" A hush fell. Loyalists expected Robert to name a minor knight. Instead, a murmur rippled through the ranks. Balon Greyjoy stepped forward, face streaked with rain and soot. Robert's brow furrowed. The king cleared his throat. "My champion will be Ser Jaime Lannister of Casterly Rock." Before Robert could name a second champion for the Iron Isles, Balon's lips curled in a triumphant sneer. "And I demand Ser Barristan Selmy of the Kingsguard to stand for the Isles." A stunned silence froze the crowd. Jaime's golden armor flashed as he stepped forward, sword at his side. Selmy emerged from Balon's contingent, armor battered by flame and blade, eyes burning with unquenchable resolve. In that moment, hundreds of eyes widened. A Kingsguard turning to fight for Ironborn? Selmy's motives were clear. He sought vengeance for Prince Rhaegar's fall at the Trident, a betrayal he blamed on Robert's usurpation. Murmurs coursed through both camps. The Crown's greatest knight, Jaime Lannister, against the White Bull of the Kingsguard, Barristan Selmy.
Robert's demand for a champion and Balon's shock choice of Selmy set the stage for an epic duel. With the fate of the Iron Isles and the Crown's dominion balanced on a blade's edge, all Westeros held its breath.
The sky darkened as rain hammered King's Landing's shattered courtyard. Jaime Lannister, golden armor dulled by mud and battle, stood beneath the broken sigils of fallen banners. In a single fluid motion, he drew his longsword, voice cold and unwavering. "For the Iron Throne and the Seven Kingdoms!" Across from him, Barristan Selmy, plate sliced by flaming pitch and dented by iron axes, knelt briefly, touching the Kraken banner, then rose, sword of Valyrian steel gleaming. In a voice resonant with steel-tempered oath, he declared, "For Prince Rhaegar, for honor, I fight." Jaime lunged like a bolt, his blade a golden flash aimed at Selmy's left shoulder. Selmy twisted aside, parrying with a resounding clang that sent sparks flickering into the storm. He riposted with a swift sidestep and a horizontal cut that carved a crimson scar across Jaime's thigh. Jaime roared, armor kinked with fresh damage, and swept his blade in a brutal rise, aimed to cleave Selmy's helm in two. Selmy ducked beneath the arc, plating singing as the blow grazed his shoulder, then countered with a savage upward thrust that cracked Jaime's breastplate inward. Jaime reeled, blood dripping from his ribs. Selmy pressed forward, blade dancing in lightning arcs, seeking gaps in Jaime's armor. Jaime backpedaled, grit on his teeth, but his next blow smashed Selmy's gauntlet, bone ringing beneath dented steel. Selmy reeled under the force but recovered, sweeping his blade across Jaime's hip. Blood spurted, steam hissed as flesh met rain. Jaime snarled, raising his blade overhead in a final, desperate strike. Selmy blocked with his pommel, forcing the hammering blow aside, and struck back in one fluid motion, Valyrian steel slicing through Jaime's ribs. Jaime's roar twisted into a strangled gasp as he crumpled to his knees. In the thunderous hush that followed, Jaime tried to rise, every breath searing with pain. Selmy approached, sword dripping, eyes fierce with unwavering resolve. Jaime's final words were a hoarse whisper. May the lion's pride endure. His body convulsed once on the rain-soaked stone, then went limp. Selmy stood tall, chest heaving, blood and rain washing across his battered armor. He bowed his head to the fallen lion, whispering, "Rest in peace, brother," before lifting his blade in silent tribute.
This duel between two of Westeros' greatest knights, Jaime Lannister's predatory precision and Barristan Selmy's unbreakable honor, echoed like thunder through the courtyard. Each parry and slash throbbed with the weight of loyalty and vengeance. When Jaime fell, the crown's final hope died with him. Selmy's victory ensured the Iron Isle's freedom and Balon Greyjoy's triumph. Balon Greyjoy's Ironborn executed a flawless campaign. Seagard's swift devastation, the rapid consolidation of the fingers, and naval supremacy at Blackwater Rush shattered the crown's forces. In a daring twist, Ironborn raiders struck King's Landing itself, sacking warehouses, igniting granaries, and forcing Robert Baratheon to recall his armies. When survival hinged on a single duel, Robert demanded Jaime Lannister as champion, only for Balon to shock the realm by naming Barristan Selmy. In a rain-lashed courtyard, Selmy's Valyrian steel pierced Jaime's ribs, ending Lannister's roar and crushing the crown's final stand. With Jaime's death, the crown's claim dissolved, and the Iron Islands stood free under the unyielding Kraken banner.
If the tides of battle and the clash of steel stirred your blood, smash like and share your most explosive theories in the comments. Subscribe now. Our What If journey through Westeros has only just begun.